We're now honored to have our guest, Mr. Donald Trump. Mr. Trump is one of the most successful real estate entrepreneurs in the history of the country. He's a graduate of the University of Pennsylvania's Wharton School of Business. Mr. Trump, this is what I don't understand. How can a guy that's created, and by the way, how many jobs have you actually created, do you know, in your life, high-paying jobs in various companies?
Right. I'm trying to figure it out, but it's tens of thousands over the years. I have thousands right now, but it's tens of thousands over the years. It's just crazy.
So tens of thousands of high-paying jobs of employees that, and I'm sure the New York Times, everybody's been through to try to get every disgruntled employee, but employee.
That's true. I would imagine so. Yeah.
Employees.
I haven't heard about it yet. Actually, it's sort of amazing when you have that many and there haven't been stories. It's sort of incredible.
That's what I'm saying. I'm sure if there would be some disgruntled, maybe down the road, but you would think
they'll find somebody.
They will find somebody of the tens of. This is what I don't get. Tens of thousands of employees. A guy, last cycle. With Romney, it was all about job creators and,
right.
Job creators this and job creators that. And the guys who create jobs. So, hey, we got a guy that's actually created jobs, real careers.
Right.
Okay. An entrepreneur, a graduate of the Wharton School. And there's a group called Club for Growth.
Right.
Right. Club for Growth. It's supposed to be about entrepreneurism.
Right.
And growth.
Right.
And they have gone out of their way to take attack ads on you in Iowa and are running around bragging about the fact and trying to raise more money that, hey, our negative ads on Trump are working. You guys got to pay attention. Hey, over here, donor class, let's go raise some money. What does it say about the state of the institutions of the Republican Party and various things associated with their historical donor, consultant, permanent political class in D.C. that a group that purports to back entrepreneurs and really to talk about entrepreneurial finance and how you get that they would go out of their way to take negative ads on, I would say, maybe except Wendell Willkie, the most successful entrepreneur ever to run and to take a serious run for president of the United States.
Well, it is pretty sad, and I will tell you that, and you know about this, Steve, the head of it is, I guess, a nasty guy, came up to my office, asked me for $1 million. I never even heard of the Club for Growth, all right? It's, which is fine. That doesn't make it a bad. And what happens is he came up to my office, asked me for $1 million, and he came through somebody that I know. And I said, $1 million for what? What am I doing? We could be rich, but we don't have to be stupid. And he said, well, we're the Club for Growth. And I said,
he clearly hadn't been prepped to go in and ask Donald Trump to write a check for $1 million. You got to be spring loaded.
Well, at least give me a good answer, right? So I said, why? And he gave me something. I said, well, write me a letter. He wrote me a letter asking for $1 million. I don't know if you've seen it.
I've seen the letter. He wrote
me a letter asking me for $1 million. We politely turned him down. We said no. All of a sudden,
By the way, in the letter, correct me if I'm wrong, in the letter, didn't he praise you as like one of the greatest entrepreneurs in human history?
Very nice. It was a very nice letter. But the bottom line is the important sentence in the letter was, we'd like $1 million, a contribution or donation or whatever they would call it. So he asked me for $1 million at a meeting. He asked me for $1 million in a letter. We very nicely, Steve, turned him down. And immediately thereafter, I think he had a press conference to announce what a terrible person I am, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And he brings up this thing about eminent domain. And by the way, I'm number one in the polls in Iowa again. So, with all the money they spent, I'm still number one in the polls in Iowa. So I don't think that had any impact, frankly. But I'm number one in Iowa and doing really well there. We have rallies that are incredible. But the interesting thing, so they use eminent domain. Now, I don't like eminent domain, but if you're going to have a government, and if you're going to build a highway, and if you're going to build a road, and if you're going to build a sewer line, and if you're going to build anything in order to function, you need eminent domain. And in fact, the big pipeline that the Keystone Pipeline, is a huge, which they are in favor of, and probably you are, and so am I, by the way, is all eminent domain. They have, hundreds of miles, thousands of miles, whatever the length of it is. You're not going to get any of that land if you don't use eminent domain. You understand, you're going through farms and you're going through areas, and you're not going to get that. So they're in favor of, I assume they're in favor of most conservatives are in favor of the Keystone Pipeline, but let's assume they are. They have a whole chapter, a whole big section when you read about the Keystone Pipeline that the Keystone Pipeline people put out about eminent domain, what a wonderful thing it is, et cetera, et cetera. So they're attacking me primarily on eminent domain. I mean, they can't attack me on jobs because who's done a better job than me?
Well, they're also attacking. This one I get. Why are they attacking an entrepreneur when they've got Bernie? They got a socialist running.
Oh, yeah, well, that's true.
And then who knows what Hillary Clinton is, right? She's so far left, and they don't attack her, but they're talking to a guy. The other thing in the subtext is you're a protectionist is going to lead us into a great trade war with our trading partners. And by the way, we had James Delingpole on earlier with the New York Times article talking about how the Chinese been lying about carbon emissions, about their coal mine. Every number out of China is a false number. They just make stuff up.
No, they're terrible. Look, I mean, they're friends of mine, but they're terrible what they do. I've done tremendous business with China. I've made a lot of money against China. I have the Bank of America building in San Francisco. I own 1290, a big chunk of 1290 Avenue of the Americas, one of the biggest office buildings in New York, all through China and against China. I mean, I've done great with China. They buy apartments. They pay me a fortune. But what they're doing, and I know many of the biggest people in China, they can't believe they get away with it. I mean, they cannot believe they get away with it. So what happens with Love for Growth? So the bottom line is, I say no nicely. And they go out and they do this thing. I don't think it had an effect because I'm still number one. I mean, it's like one of those things. But you're right. You know what I find, and this is really sad, the liberals attack me, but I find that the conservatives attack me much more viciously. I don't understand it, and I've heard it all of my life. If you're a conservative, if you're a Republican, you'll get attacked more viciously by certain conservative groups. I won't even mention the names, and I don't understand it because most of my views are their views.
Do you think, Politico had this story, the Politico has a story. Of course, when I say it's a story, it's all unnamed sources. It's right. It's a guy who talked to a guy who saw your son-in-law at a party talking to another guy who might know a guy, right? It's like connect the dots. Right. But you're supposed to be going around now begging for money from the Kochs, begging for the money from Paul Singer, begging for a meeting with Sheldon Adelson. And it appears that is another thing of the donor class. Somehow the donor class is upset that Donald Trump's not taking their money, right? And
they don't. I had a guy come up to my office. He wants to give me a fortune. I said, I don't take it. I mean, there's no way I can take it. I'm not, I don't have the PACs and stuff. I closed. We had, I think, 10 or 9 or 11. Many PACs were organized for me by people. I mean, they just set up a PAC. This whole thing with PAC, Steve, is a scam. I mean, it's really a horrible thing that's going on. And they're controlling all of the candidates, by the way. We wrote legal letters to all of the PACs, closing them down. So other than that, we can't take anything. Now, we take little money. People send in $50 and $100. And we take it because if you sent it back, it would be terrible. How do you send it back with a letter that we don't want your money? These are people that write in and they send $7.50, $12. It's, and they're invested. I love that. I think it's that's the way the system should work. But we closed down at least 9 PACs where we wrote letters to them. And some of these people are very good people, I'm sure, that did the PAC. They did it for the right reasons. And some, I'm sure, are going to live off the PAC. But what's happening with the candidates is the candidates are totally being controlled by their super PACs. And their super PACs are, some of these things have tremendous money in them. And they're totally controlling. If you look at Carson, his campaign in Iowa is being run by his super PAC. It's being run by the PAC, and it's not supposed to be. And you look at Jeb Bush, where he has an event. $100 million.
He's got $100 million super PAC.
But he has an event where the super PAC is in one ballroom, and he's in a ballroom right next to it, and there's not supposed to be any coordination.
This is our buddy Dave Bossi's thing, but we'll come back to that in a second. I just want to go back to
Dave Bossi, but I love to find a better way that when people put up money, let them put up money where it's not this way. This whole concept of a super PAC.
You don't think it's, by the way, you don't think they have you don't think they have a freedom of speech right to be, if they want to put money up and back a Jeb, if a bunch of guys want to write checks for $100 million and back a Jeb Bush.
Write them to a campaign, and I think there should be full disclosure that they put up the money and everything else, but they should write it to a campaign, and frankly, the people should be able to spend it. But, they're not even...
This is not sour grapes, and you don't think your super PAC's going to raise a ton of money. This is not sour grapes. You're absolutely adamantly opposed to this.
If I wanted to, I would have had a super PAC with $300, $400, $500 million in it. I would have had the biggest super PAC ever created. I know everybody. Hey, look, Carl Icahn just endorsed me. Carl Icahn. Everybody. I mean, it's so...
The Chinese are not going to dig. The Chinese are not going to dig that when you unleash Carl Icahn to be your chief negotiator.
Well, they're not going to do so well, the Chinese. Okay, it's going to be a different story. They're going to say, "What happened?" They're right now dealing with some guy who's a political hack. The Chinese will not be doing so well when I send Carl in. Carl, check out the trade deal.
You're gonna shift Froman from the trade rep to Carl Icahn. That's when all hell's going to break loose. Let me go back to the political.
I am a free trader, by the way, just so you understand, because you had mentioned about this Club for Growth or whatever it's called. I am a free trader, but it's got to be fair. China is killing us on trade. They're taxing us.
You think free trade as a concept has been turned in kind of a fetish by the Wall Street Journal, where it's just America gives everything away. Everybody takes advantage of us on this rubric free trade. You're saying, hey, I'm a free trader, but I'm also a savvy business guy that's worked throughout the world. I know what the deal is.
It's got to be fair. It's got to be fair. We don't tax them, they tax us. I have friends that are, manufacturers and all. They can't get their product into China. No way they get their product into China. When they do, they get taxed. When China sends their product in, it comes easily and no tax. That's not fair. We have a trade imbalance with China right now of almost $400 billion a year. I mean, Steve, it's $400 billion a year. I will stop all of that.
The Politico story. I just want to get to this because I was kind of surprised that it had novelistic tendencies to it because I don't think there were any name sources. I might be wrong. I apologize. But I just saw it was all you had a son.
Politico to be one of the most dishonest organizations I've ever dealt with. They are, in my opinion, some of the most dishonest people I've ever dealt with. It is not true what they write. Generally, I mean, they write some true stuff.
By the way, they got some really good guys with it. Mike Allen, the whole team over there. Why do you think that they? Why do you say that? Do you think they're out for you? They think that they're out to?
I can only tell you, as pertains to Trump, I have had more false and dishonest articles from Politico than I think anybody else, and that's saying something. I find Politico to be to a point where we don't deal with them anymore. Essentially, don't deal with them anymore. You give them stuff, and they
give me a specific. Be specific. Give me an example.
I'll tell you. I'll give you just one little thing. I was in Phoenix. We had a tremendous crowd of people, thousands.
I remember the rally. This is the rally. I remember.
Politico said it was 4,000 people. It was the next day or the next whatever. Bernie Sanders was there. He had a smaller crowd. They said he had 15,000. They wouldn't. And then
we had people there. There was a lot more than 4,000 folks there.
Let me tell you, the 4,000 in a later story, they said we're reducing the 4,000 to 2,000. Steve, I have pictures of the room. That room was packed. I have pictures of Bernie Sanders' room. He also had a good crowd, but I would say it was a good 25-30% less than us. They were so dishonest. So that's one of many things. I find Politico, and I deal with everybody, including Breitbart, in all fairness, right? And I do like Breitbart, and Breitbart is legit. I mean, 100% legit. I mean, you guys write, and if it's not good, you're going to write about it too.
Yeah,
but when it is good, Steve, you're going to say the truth. I can't get good stories from Politico, no matter what I do. The Fox polls came out last night. I'm doing very well. Let's see how they cover that. Now, I find others to be pretty bad. Actually, the truth is, I have found that the political press or the media is unbelievably dishonest overall. Okay, I find Politico to be about the worst.
Why? But there's so many good people over there. Why do you? What is it about it? Do you think when you say it's the worst?
Maybe they don't like me. I don't know. Maybe they don't like me. I always heard they were liberal leaning, maybe, but I don't know why they would be.
But do you think there may be something deeper about that, about the permanent political class or whatever?
I think there's something. Maybe maybe the owner of. Do you know who the owner of Politico is?
I think it's the family, the Albritton family. I think.
And you know who likes them a lot is my daughter, and they like her. They love Ivanka, and she loves them. She thinks they're great. And I don't ask.
Well, if you have to pick a Trump to like, she's by far the easiest one to like, right? I don't want to get personal, but she's by far the easiest one to like.
No, I agree. But you're
an acquired taste.
For whatever reason, all I can say is we get very dishonest coverage from Politico, and I don't think they're doing.
And you and
that catches up with.
And Corey Ludnowski and Hope Hicks have sat down with Politico and actually have a discussion.
Many times, and it just doesn't work out. They have a reporter named Ben something. He's terrible. He writes so badly and so incorrectly. And you know what? I don't mind a bad story when it's fact. Okay, I don't mind. Somebody said you have thin skin. I said no. If I have a bad story, I do something good, they give me a bad story, then I get angry. If I do something, that's not so hot, little bad stuff, and they write about it. That's okay. I fully understand. That's the way the game is supposed to be played. But of all of them, I find Politico to be the worst.
Did you go? I just want the story. Did you go to Paul Singer and to Sheldon Adelson and to the Kochs and to Charles Koch begging for money?
No, is that what they said?
Well, the story says that you've been trying to set up meetings with Adelson. You've been trying to set up meetings with Paul Singer. You've been trying to set up meetings with Charles Koch.
I don't know. Okay, David Koch invited me to his house a long time ago. During the summer, long before I was running. And he invited me. That's what they're talking to. And David Koch in Palm Beach has a beautiful house. David's a very nice guy. He invited me to his house. I went there along with many other people. There were probably 50, 60 people. Some of them were governors and senators. Some of them are running in the race. But I didn't go for money. I didn't invite myself. He invited me. I was in Palm Beach. In fact, I was a little bit upset about it because I couldn't play golf that day. Okay, I would have preferred playing golf as much as I like David. But I went to his house in Palm Beach. They had, people there, different people, different kinds of people, governors. They had a couple of people that were running, or a few people that were running. But that was an invitation from him to me. I didn't ask to go.
Before we get off this topic, next hour we're going to have Mike Huckabee on, but we're also going to have some Disney employees. We're going to have a woman that represents this H-1B visa fiasco.
By the way, Mike Huckabee is a terrific guy. The way he stuck up for me with that guy John Harwood, who hopefully his career has been destroyed. But I think, and you could tell Mike Huckabee, I said it, Mike Huckabee is a stand-up man. The way he stood up was so incredible. And then he did it on another television show on Fox, where he stood up for me, and he actually said, he talked about my children. Anybody that can have children like that can't be all bad, as the expression goes, okay, because I do have good children. But Mike Huckabee's a terrific guy, I will tell you, so I hope you give him my regards.
I will. He's on here also going to talk about this HB1 visas. What do you think about this situation where you have American companies, particularly technology companies, that are letting go highly trained American IT workers, blowing them out, having them train their replacements, and hiring foreign workers? Just generally, what's your sense of that?
It's no good. I mean, we have to do something about it. And people are coming in and they're taking jobs and they're getting paid less money, and they're a lot of things are happening, a lot of bad things. And a lot of it has to do with borders. A lot of it has to do with laws. One of the things I did say, though, and I feel strongly about this, when somebody's going to Harvard, Yale, Princeton, Penn, Stanford, all the great, and they graduate, and not only graduate, but do great, and we throw them out of the country, and they can't get back in, I think that's terrible. We've got to be able to keep great people in the country. We've got to create, job creators. One man went to, I think it was Harvard. There was a story a month ago, went to Harvard, did well, good student, wanted to stay in the country, wasn't allowed to, went back to his home in India, started up a company. Now it's a very, very successful company with thousands of people. He wanted to do that here. We have to be careful of that, Steve. We have to keep our talented people in this country. I think you agree with that. Do you agree?
Well,
with that?
I got a tougher. When 2/3 or 3/4 of the CEOs in Silicon Valley are from South Asia or from Asia, I think. My point is that a country's more like Sessions. A country's more than an economy. We're a civic society. I want to see.
Well, in any event, you have to keep them legally. I mean,
yes.
When people come in, they have to come in legally. I want people to come into the country, Steve, and I've said that, I'm building the wall. We're going to have a border like very few people have. We're going to have a wall. It's going to be a great wall. It's going to be a wall that works. And if you want a wall that works, just ask Israel. That wall works. Somebody said 99.9%. But the walls work. When these characters say it doesn't work, they don't know what they're talking about. But we're going to have a wall. But I still want people to come in, but I want them to go through the process. I want them to come in legally. How about all the people that have been waiting to come into the country for years, going through the legal process, and now you have people just walk in like it's like off the street? No good.
You got to remember, we're Breitbart. We got to be we're the know nothing vulgarians. So we always got to be to the right of you on this. So don't. Okay,
that's okay.
Last thing on Saturday Night Live. By the way, the spots have been hilarious. Right. They actually had to take some down. I think they were so funny. Or it might have violated campaign law. But here's the question. They're actually now talking about, I think there's out there, and I think we're reporting this, they're trying to recruit people to go in the audience, pay people to stand up and say you're a racist. There's one after the other, cultural figures or politicians coming up and saying this should cancel. What's your sense of... Just, I don't want to give the inside baseball what's happening with the cast, but are you comfortable that nothing's going to happen? Are you comfortable that this thing's going to proceed and be a night of entertainment and comedy?
Yeah. Yeah, no, I have a very good relationship with NBC. You know, they renewed The Apprentice for a 2-year period and 28 shows, and I couldn't do it because I'm running. So, you know, I mean, I have a very good and we had the difficulty with Miss Universe, and actually I bought them out and sold the whole thing and made a fantastic deal, sold the whole thing to IMG, which is going to do terrifically with it, I think. So, you know, because it was great. I took that over. It was a sick puppy and made it something really special. But no, it's going to proceed. Hey, look, honestly, it only makes it hotter. You understand that. You're in the ratings business now, Stephen. Sadly, I didn't tweet today because I didn't have any time. I was going to tweet that I was on your show. So your ratings won't be as big because nobody's going to know maybe, but you'll still get great ratings. I hear you.
By the way, the show, your first show, the story, we had 5 stories come out of it. Your story on Wasserman Schultz at 9 o'clock at night was the #1 story in the world on Facebook.
Oh, really? Oh, she's terrible.
It was on fire.
I watch her. I mean, I think she's just absolutely a terrible.
She cuts good deals, though. She cut a good deal on TV. By the way,
you're right. I think she's in many respects terrible. In many respects, she probably does a very good job. Hillary came out of there. There wasn't anybody going to ask any bad questions. And when you look at what happened with the Republicans, it was a different story.
Are you going to cut beside what Megyn Kelly thinks? Are you going to cut a better deal for the other candidates in dealing with the networks?
Well, I don't know what Megyn Kelly thinks, actually. Well, what does Megyn Kelly think?
I think she was making the point that did all the candidates, that all you guys are complaining, all of you, I don't think she's singled you out, did you guys want a foot massage, right, instead of tough questions?
Well, I think that I don't really care that much. I've enjoyed the debates. I've done well in the debates, obviously. You know, the new Fox poll came out late last night, and I was in #1 position. I went up, and it showed that I did well with the debate stuff. So I don't really care that much about, other than I would like it to be like, 72 degrees in the room. Remember, when we went to the Reagan Live, I think it was 100 degrees. It was ridiculous. You need you do need certain parameters, but I really just want to debate and get it done. I mean, I've enjoyed it. I've enjoyed the process. I've never debated before professionally. Politicians, that's all they do is they debate. Their whole life is a debate. They talk and they don't get anything done. But I will tell you that I would just like to get it done and get the debates over with. And I've just enjoyed the process. I don't care that much. People think I'm negotiating. I really don't. I did negotiate 2 hours from 3, even though John Harwood lied when he said, "Oh no, we were never going to have it be 3. It was going to be 3." You know that because it was in all the.
I like your concept of taking the cash. Why didn't the networks make it? They're supposed to be public trust. Why don't they just kick it back to the veterans groups?
Well,
I love that idea.
They're making a fortune.
Right.
They were getting. It was reported that CNN. It was I think it was $2,000 for 30 seconds.
I knew they weren't going to get carried interest on Donald Trump too long before all of a sudden we got to renegotiate this. We got to look at the split here, guys. Okay, Mr. Trump.
I wanted it to go to the vets. I will say, and I still do. That's where the money should go because they're making a fortune.
Mr. Trump, thank you so much. I know you're incredibly busy. Thank you for joining us.
Take care of yourself. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. Breitbart News Daily. That was Donald Trump.